A woman known as the Angel of Bali, after being pictured dragging a man from the flames of a terrorist bomb, has told how she still goes back to pay tribute to the boyfriend she lost in the blast. Hanabeth O'Reilly was just 22 when the nightclub where she was partying was targeted in a double bombing in 2002. As revellers fled a suicide blast in the club opposite, they were caught by a much bigger car bomb outside the night spot where Hanabeth was dancing. It left 202 people dead. Hanabeth was photographed helping a badly wounded stranger away from the burning debris. He died later in hospital. She was unaware at the time that her boyfriend Marc Gajardo, 30, had died instantly in the blast and lay just meters away. In an emotional interview with the Sunday Mirror ahead of next week's anniversary of the attack, Hanabeth, now 40, has told how she still visits the scene of Marc's death, but no longer has to do so alone as she has married and has 2 children. Her husband Kieran O'Reilly, 35, fully supports her need to remember Marc, while she has also explained to son Tristan, 6, how she nearly died that day. And Hanabeth says it was meeting Kieran that helped her to finally move on. She said, "Finding love again was like the sun came out from behind a cloud. Everything went from grey to warm and colourful. Falling in love with Kieran was just like, there you are, let's get on with it then." Close quote. At the same time, it enabled her to find a place in her heart where Marc's memory can live on. She said, "Of course I always will remember Marc and honour him and who he was, his endless crazy energy and joyousness. I will always remember his joy of life and commemorate him. That's important for me." Close quote. Born Hanabeth Luke, the mum of 2, grew up in St Agnes, Cornwall, emigrating to Australia in her teens with her surfer parents. She was 20 and back visiting her grandmother when she met mechanic Marc. She taught him to swim and surf, and they bonded over their shared passion for catching waves. The pair jetted off to Australia in December 2000 and travelled the country, doing casual work, before settling in Byron Bay. They returned to the UK for a 3-month holiday in the summer of 2002 to visit Marc's family, flying to Bali on October the 2nd for a stop-off on their way back to Australia. Marc finally managed to pull off a hang 5 surf move on perfect waves the day he died. That night they were dancing at the Sari nightclub in Kuta Beach, Bali, when jihadi terrorists struck at Paddy's bar opposite. Marc had left the dancefloor, joking he could not dance to Cher. Hanabeth stayed put, a decision that saved her life. As Eminem's Without Me played, she heard a bang like a shotgun and felt an icy chill of air. She saw Marc go to see what was happening. Seconds later, a much larger blast buried her under burning hot rubble. Hanabeth searched frantically for Marc, but could not find him. She bravely guided badly wounded Australian tourist Tom Singer, 17, to safety through the flames, an image that was flashed around the world. Tom died in hospital from his injuries. The next day, a friend located Marc's body at a morgue. Hanabeth had to phone his parents, Ray and Carol, at home near Truro to break the news. She returned to Cornwall for Marc's funeral in December 2002. Hanabeth says the experience made her more fearless and tenacious, even taking on PM Tony Blair in a TV debate about the impending Iraq War, which she opposed. When the war broke out in 2003, Hanabeth fled to Australia and lost herself in surfing, but returned to Cornwall 3 years later to be near her grandmother. She trained to be a teacher at Truro College, then got a job there. But 4 years later she returned to Australia, getting a first-class honours and a PhD at Southern Cross University near Byron Bay. She is now a senior lecturer at its School of Environment, Science and Engineering. Hanabeth had counselling, but struggled to come to terms with all that had happened. She has been back to the site of the bombing at least 5 times, last year taking Kieran, Tristan, and 3-year-old Connie. She explained, "I took my family to the Sari club site. That was very hard because it's still not commemorated, it hasn't moved on. It would be nice to see the site on it. A lot of souls passed there and died a really horrible death." Close quote. Hanabeth says she often commemorates the anniversary of Marc's death by surfing, and she still has his surfboard. She said, "Last year I took the day off work and took out Marc's big old surfboard for a ride. The surf happened to be really good, and I had my first ever hang five and I caught a wave for Marc. And I caught one for Tom Singer too. I was just out there, thinking as I surfed of everyone who passed away, that's my little tribute." Even 18 years later it's still very real, and it's still heartbreakingly sad. In the run-up to the 10-year anniversary of the bombings in 2012, for which she returned to the scene, Hanabeth wrote a book, Shock Waves, about her experience. She says writing it helped her to grieve properly. Hanabeth met Kieran that same year, after he volunteered to help with her PhD research. He was also alongside her when she opened the first copy of her book, and after that they grew closer. She said, "It was the next week we went on our first date and had our first kiss, and the rest is history. He's just an absolutely wonderful human being and has been extremely supportive of me." Close quote. Hanabeth proposed to Kieran over tacos at their home in the bush, Australian slang for a eucalyptus forest. They married in 2016 in front of 200 friends at Corindry Ridge, a small community where Kieran grew up near their Evans Head home. Hanabeth said, "Our wedding was big, beautiful and full of love, good food and dancing. Outdoors, in the Australian bush, overlooking the ocean, and under a full moon with live music and bush dancing." Close quote. Kieran, also a teacher, said, "I'm very proud of Hanabeth. I love her determination and selfless passion for her work and her students." Close quote. As with Marc, it was her love of surfing that first brought Hanabeth and Kieran together. She says he and the children do not find it difficult to hear her talking about Marc and stand by her when she is feeling wobbly. She said, "They're all awesome. My husband is a really incredible fellow, he just takes it in his stride. He was there as I was commemorating the 10-year anniversary, so he stepped into my life at a point where Marc was present in a way, because I was reliving the whole story. And Kieran was the first person to proofread my book. He just accepts it's a part of who I am, what makes me me." and that I'm always going to have a very big place in my heart for Marc. Close quote.